Hey guys, I'm Sage Valentine and I'm back here to review another episode of Fox's 24 Legacy. This time it's all about Season 1, Episode 7, entitled From 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Events occur in real time. I always wanted to say that. Anyway, if you're watching 24 Legacy because you're looking for something to be logical, nothing about this show is logical. Really nothing about the show is true to life, and that's what makes the entire series 24, 24 Live Another Day, and 24 Legacy so awesome. Because some of this stuff happens and it's like these people have enough time to sit down and talk and chat and breathe, but they never seem to have enough time to go to the bathroom. The biggest running joke of 24 was always the fact that Jack was running around Robin's bin for 24 hours and never ever stopped to pee. So I remember, I think it was either SNL or it was Mad TV that made fun of 24, and they just had like Jack Bauer in the bathroom standing like in a stall peeing for a couple of hours, because literally if you ran around that much you would have to pee that much, whether or not you were eating or so on or so forth. You definitely will. So when it comes to 24 Legacy, it's best to just sit down and just watch and enjoy the entertainment. Because if you watch it and you're trying to dissect it, you're not going to enjoy it at all. But let's talk about episode number 7. So pretty much, this is all the aftermath of the explosion that happened in episode 6. Andy is asking or begging Keith for his clearance because he wants to help out. And Keith, aka Zoom from The Flash, is not trying to hear that. He was just like, Andy, go over there and file some stuff. I don't even want to see you. I don't want to talk to you right now. So all of a sudden, Andy gets a phone call that somebody set off his car alarm. And someone says that his car, well, the security guy was saying how Andy's car was like teal or something. And Andy's like, well, it's really not teal. And I've seen that car in person. It's more of like a bright blue, a royal blue. I think it's a really cute color. Anyway, Rebecca blames Henry Donovan for everything that has happened in the past couple of hours, including this explosion on the George Washington Bridge. She basically wants Zoom, or Keith Mullins, as he's known in the show, to allow her to send Henry to a black site where he can be interrogated further, i.e., a place where they can really get the information out of him, and it will go above and beyond what they do at CTU, but it'll get the job done. And in order for Rebecca to be able to do this, she basically tells Keith, like, listen, I need to have John distracted. He's not going to go along with this situation at all. So Rebecca calls a person who is Tony Almeida. I'm so happy that he finally showed up. Oh my goodness, when they said at the panel at New York Comic Con that Tony Almeida was going to show up, I was like, you know what? I am really going to watch 24 now because I want to see what type of man Tony is, because throughout the series 24 and 24 Live Another Day, we saw a change in Tony. He became darker and darker and darker, but it was good to see Tony popping up. But anyway, I was wondering as he was talking to Rebecca, like, what is their connection? Like, what's going on there? Because it seems like more than a friendship. And basically, Rebecca tells Tony, listen, once we get Henry out of this building, you can do what you got to do. We'll get him to you, or you can come pick him up, whatever, what have you. So Andy heads down to the parking garage to turn off his car alarm, and everything seems fine. He's about to turn around and go back up when it goes off again, and then he goes close to the car and he like closes the door or something, and then Eric grabs him. He basically tells Andy, listen, I need your help. Someone needs to repair that crazy disc that Jidalla has, because Jidalla called me up. He says he's got my wife and my brother, and in order for me to save them, I need someone to fix this. But the truth of the matter is, or as Keke Palmer says, the gag is that this is going to be a suicide mission. So pretty much we're going to go in and we're not going to come out, and we're going to convince Jidalla that we are going to, or you are going to fix the disc, but In actuality, you're going to destroy it. Pretty much, if we don't destroy this disc, then Jidalla is going to find a way to grab someone else to fix it and then launch the other 14 attacks, and God knows what the heck those entail. Oh, and by the way, neither of us is going to survive this. So pretty much this mission is a suicide mission. So Andy tells Eric really quickly, I gotta go upstairs, I gotta get my laptop with my development kit. So pretty much, as we learn later in the episode, that he has to create some sort of virus, and the virus is going to destroy the disc. And Eric is just like, you're gonna go back upstairs, so pretty much you're gonna tell on me to see to you. And Andy's like, no, I'm not gonna tell on you, because if I was lying, you would already know. Rebecca tells John Donovan that this explosion on the George Washington Bridge is all care of one of Jidalla's sleeper cells. And she also tells him that Keith Mullins, aka Zoom from The Flash, wants to ask him more questions. He wants him to be interrogated again because they have to get more information. And John's just like, well, I just went through it. And Rebecca's like, listen, we have to get more. We have to see what wasn't said and compare notes, blah, 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 blah. So Henry is released, and Henry thinks he has the upper hand, and he talks about he's going to tell this person and this person, and then he calls Tio, that's John's uncle, and tells Tio that he's on his way home, and all of this was a big misunderstanding, meaning him being arrested, interrogated, and all this other stuff. So Rebecca tells Keith Mullins the truth, that Tony Almeida is going to be debriefing Henry. And Keith is upset because he said that Tony is a crook. Yeah, pretty much. He didn't start out as a crook, but he became a crook, especially after his wife died. If you didn't watch the first 24 series, you got to go back into that. Tony basically went in a downward spiral once his wife was killed. And her death was so sad because she was such an amazing character. So Andy basically says his last goodbye to Locke. Because if you don't already know, Andy and Locke at one time were lovers. I'm not mad at him. So Andy tells Locke he gets it. He knows that he's needy and insecure. He wishes that he had shown Locke his better qualities. And basically, like I said, it's his goodbye. And Locke kind of pulls Andy aside, and he's just like, Andy, are you okay? Is everything okay? And Andy said, I'm fine. I just needed to get this off my chest. He said, we're good now. So this black van pops up as Henry is being escorted to, or back to his house. And the van kind of cuts in front, and then all of a sudden this chick on this motorcycle pops up, and the van stops, and Henry's car hits the back of the van, and then the chick in the motorcycle puts this thing on top of the van. It's like the stuff in there. I don't know if it knocks some people out or something. Then they put this tech on the door, and it opens up the door, and it's just a really badass way to kidnap Henry Donovan. So we get to a scene with Nicole and Isaac, and Nicole begs Isaac to stop trying to get free. Everything's going to be okay, and Isaac is just worried about the situation. He has every right to, because all of this could go wrong, because Jidalla's not right in the head at all. So Isaac tells Nicole, you know, you made the right choice, and by right choice, he means by leaving him and choosing Eric. He says, and by he, I mean Isaac tells Nicole, you know, you're a woman that made a choice, and it is not Eric's fault that you made that choice. He said, that is on me. So some of Jidalla's men come to get Nicole, and they beat the crap out of poor Isaac. Isaac has been through enough, I swear, enough. Like, just leave Isaac alone. So anyway, basically Jidalla wants Nicole to stitch him up because he's got like a wound. And he's being super nice to her in a really creepy way. And basically, Nicole reveals to him that she thinks that that attack on the bridge was disgusting. And Jidalla says that he will kill Eric once this mission is over. And Nicole was like, well, if you shoot him, you better not miss. In other words, my husband's going to kill you. So don't think you're going to get the upper hand. So Andy's struggling trying to make this virus because he was riding with Eric, and then they had to stop for a bit. All of a sudden, Locke shows up. He followed Andy. He wants to know what's going on. And Eric pretty much tells him what's up. Andy mentions how he's making this virus. Locke wants to know what's the end game. Eric takes advantage of the fact that Locke is distracted by Andy because he loves Andy, obviously. He's fallen in love. He loves him. There's something going on between these two. And all of a sudden, Eric and Locke fight. Eric gets the upper hand. Andy turns a gun on Locke. And then all of a sudden, Eric gets a gun and turns it on Locke. And then poor Andy has to tie up Locke. And I think he handcuffed him to some sort of like pipe or something. So at Tony Almeida's hideout, the crew with Henry Donovan, they show up. Rebecca's waiting. And there's some jealousy from this chick. I think her name is Cedra. It's the one that was on the bike. You could tell she kind of side-eyed Tony hugging Rebecca. And she's extremely jealous. So Rebecca tells Tony, listen, I need you to run medical. In other words, check Henry's vital signs, because I guess you don't want him to die. And I think that, in my opinion, that's like a nod to other seasons when Jack used to torture people and it went a little bit too far and sometimes the people died. Yeah, so Rebecca doesn't want that happening because they got to get this information out of Henry in order to catch Jidalla. So Tony Almeida asks Rebecca, does John Donovan know about this? And when she says no, he's just like, you know, it's going to be a really awkward conversation once John finds out, of course. So we learned that Rebecca and Tony used to date. Then all of a sudden Rebecca met John and it was bye-bye Tony. All of this happened after Tony's wife died. And again, Cedra is the chick on the motorcycle and she's jealous. And this is the second jealous woman. Second one in the series. And on a side note, where's Aisha? I know Aisha's going to pop out at the most inconvenient time. I swear she is. I can feel it. Anyway, Tony basically tells Henry that he wants the truth. He knows what Henry did. All that Henry needs to do is tell the truth or he's going to get injected with some really nasty stuff. But if he tells the truth, they'll inject him with something else that will reverse that stuff and take away all the pain. It's as simple as that. And Henry's just like, well, my son is a senator. And Tony's like, okay, it's not going to stop me from torturing you. Anyway, John realizes something is up. He gets a call from his Uncle Tio, and Tio tells him that Henry has disappeared, and he can't find him on the GPS, and then all of a sudden, the scene cuts. We see Locke getting handcuffed to the pipe. Eric calls Jidalla and tells Jidalla about Andy and how Andy is the person that he was able to grab to help fix that little disc thingy. And Eric asks to speak to Nicole. Nicole tells him that she's okay, and she does what most captives do on these TV shows and basically tries to give him a message real fast by telling him, don't do it, don't do anything that Jidalla says. And Jidalla basically tells Eric, listen, if you fail, I'm going to kill Isaac first, and you know who I'm going to kill next, and looks Nicole in the face or in the eye. So Locke tells Andy that he doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have to go through with this whole mission with Eric. The whole scene gives me so many feels. It's ridiculous. Locke doesn't want to lose Andy. It's so sweet. I remember I was on social media and somebody was like, why is there so much romance in 24? There was never any romance in the other seasons. Are you serious? Are you really serious? Jack and Audrey. Are you serious? You cannot be serious. You can't. There was romance all through 24. There was craziness. There was violence. There was a little of this, a little of that. That's the nature of 24. That is the legacy of the series 24. Anyway, Isaac and Nicole are taken in a van to meet up at the rendezvous point that Jidalla has set for Andy and Eric to make it to. John Donovan is pissed that Henry was released, and he runs straight to Keith Mullins, aka Zoom from The Flash, and tells him basically that he wants to know what's going on. And Keith tries to act a little bit cagey, and all of a sudden Keith calls Rebecca and tells Rebecca that John knows that something is up. He basically knows the jig is up. So Rebecca talks to John on the phone. She tells him the truth, says that they needed to interrogate his father, Henry, further, but nothing will happen to the father until John gets there. So Andy is nervous. He takes one last anxiety pill, or at least he thinks it's one last, because again, this mission is a pretty much suicide mission, unfortunately. So Eric talks about a moment of anxiety, knocking on his first door in, I believe it was Baghdad, and it was hard, and he tells Andy, you know what, just do it. Just do this job. Just get it over with. So Andy and Eric make it to the rendezvous point. The first group is theirs, these two dudes, and they tell Jidalla all clear, because I'm assuming they thought that Eric and Andy came and brought with them some CTU agents and the cavalry and everything, but they didn't. So Nicole and Isaac are in the van, and Isaac tells Nicole that he loves her, and he always has, always will. And some people on social media are like, well, Nicole looks like she's in love with Isaac. I think Nicole still has feelings for Isaac, but she really, really loves Eric. I mean, really loves Eric, because if she didn't, then when she and Isaac were close together, their faces were close together, she would have kissed him, embraced him, something. Nah, she really seems to love Eric. So basically, Eric needs to sell this whole situation to Jidalla and make it look like Andy's being forced to participate. And in doing so, after Eric asked Jidalla to release Nicole, his wife, and Isaac, his brother, he basically ends up having to turn a gun on Andy, because guns are turned on him and Andy, and it becomes a very tense situation. And then all of a sudden, Nicole's released. Eric and Nicole embrace. It's so sweet. So sweet. And then all of a sudden, Isaac is released, and Eric tells Isaac to take Nicole and put her in the car, because we learned that he's going to send her and Isaac to CTU to be safe in that building, even though we know the CTU building is not that safe. But in this situation, it's pretty much Fort Knox for the moment. So Nicole refuses to get in the car after Eric tells her that he's going to finish this whole situation so he can get back to her. Nicole's screaming, she's crying for him, but she's pushed to the car, and Isaac tries to talk Eric out of this whole situation, but he can't, and basically Nicole and Isaac are sent on their way, headed to CTU. But not before Eric says his last goodbye by apologizing to his brother, Isaac. The scene is really, really rough. So we see John Donovan heading to Tony's little black site spot. And I think they also showed Locke trying to free himself, if I remember correctly. And Jidalla's men grab Eric and Andy and kind of push them to the van, because they're going to head back, and then Andy's going to do what he's supposed to do. But not before Jidalla tells his one associate with really thick eyebrows, I know I should talk. Anyway, he tells him to follow Nicole and Isaac and kill them both. So episode 7 was really, really rough. I have to do a review of episode 8. I have to also do a review of The Walking Dead, which I will end up doing tomorrow, because that's been my whole thing. But I do think that by the time I get to episode 16, which is the season finale of The Walking Dead, I'm going to do that review earlier, because I'm going to be all caught up. If you guys want me to review anything else like Shots Fired, let me know. I love you all. Thank you so much for being patient with me and tuning into these videos. And until next time, bye guys. Love you all. Bye.